Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. Vivian, I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity. And I'm really happy to be here with all of you. My name is Montana, and I am 31 years old. A quick health history for me. I was diagnosed with leukemia when I was 7 years old. Was on chemotherapy for 3 years, and at 17 years old, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. It was a pretty severe, chaotic case where it wasn't really able to be put under control. So I ended up having 3 surgeries, a total colectomy in fourth year university, followed by an emergency surgery where I had a perforated duodenal ulcer, and then the J pouch surgery, the ilioanal, about a year later. And you know the symptoms of colitis and Crohn's, and you know the treatments, and I'm not necessarily going to go into the details of that. I think that what I want to say first and foremost is that being diagnosed with a chronic illness might sound obvious, but it's an incredibly traumatic event in and of itself. When at 17, you're being told that you have a chronic invisible illness and you don't understand what's going on in your life. Not only was I faced with incredibly painful, debilitating symptoms, but that affected every realm of my life. My mental health took a pretty severe turn over the course of this time, because suddenly you're out of control in your life. You're out of control of the pain that you're facing. You don't understand your body. You don't know what your future is going to look like. Not only that, but I think it's really important to talk about how embarrassing colitis is and Crohn's is, to have accidents, to not be able to control your bowels, to have like awful stomach aches all the time. I isolated myself, and I was more and more facing feelings of increasing anxiety and depression and isolation, frankly, disgust and shame around myself and my body. And it's hard to put into words how much this illness has affected the way that I see myself and the trajectory of my life, and how much it's mentally and emotionally and spiritually just felt like it's been pushing me down. And leading me to greater and greater isolation throughout my teens and my 20s. And I also think, so including this huge hit on my self-esteem and the way that I saw my body and my weight. And to be honest with you, and I don't think I'm alone in this, I really internalized that shame. I saw myself as a failure, as broken, as weak, as not normal, as never being able to measure up and achieve these milestones. Like this huge invisible boulder was placed on my shoulders and nobody saw it. And I was still trying to trudge along and hit these milestones and do everything that everyone else was doing. And honestly, hide my pain and hide my isolation and hide my fear and hide my disgust. And for me, that manifested in my coping mechanism, honestly, that started after I survived childhood cancer, was an eating disorder. The prednisone, the steroids, the treatments were so shameful, and the amount of out of control I felt of my body led me to begin to battle with anorexia for 20 years. I know a lot of women, also with IBD, that have struggles with eating disorders, and I think that's a really interesting area that obviously I can just talk about anecdotally, but perhaps there's more information out there. And the thing is, with an eating disorder and with this feeling that a lot of us as patients have about our bodies, we disconnect from them. We come to the doctor, and every time we come, we're talking about our diseased body part. And we start to see ourselves as these dehumanized, disempowered series of broken body parts that just keep breaking. And it's really crazy when I think about how much I internalize that patient identity. Growing up as a patient, I was so lucky, to be treated for leukemia at Sick Kids, to be treated for colitis and have my surgeries at Mount Sinai. What a blessing. But the amount of time you spend in a hospital and in a doctor's office, like you start to really take on that patient identity. And I think what's really interesting and what I've been learning about myself is that the word patient and the word passive come from the same root. And really, when we come to a doctor, like there is that inherent power differential. And we do start to see ourselves as passive in our own care and passive even in relation to treating and understanding and healing our own bodies. And that's really problematic when you're dealing with a chronic illness that has no cure and that's never going to really end, right? That we're just trying to manage. But it's like we come to you guys once a year, once every 6 months, but we have to deal with the rest of the days. And I think that I was left feeling incredibly disempowered and afraid of and terrified and disconnected from my own body. And that's what led me to want to end my life many, many times. Like we can get through painful, challenging times, but to feel alienated from your own physical being and to feel like you can never measure up, like it's hard for me to articulate the amount of pain and suffering that causes for someone. So what does this have to do with our topic at hand? Fertility in patients with IBD. I think it has everything to do with fertility. I'm a 30-year-old woman, and I don't know if I'm ever going to have a child of my own. And I think that that's directly related to the amount of time I spent trying to numb from myself. And when I think about what it means to be a mother, it's like a force to be reckoned with, right? Like to grow a human in your stomach, you have to be connected to your body. You have to feel empowered and ready to like nurture and love and care. You have to not be afraid, frankly, to gain weight and to be okay with your body changing, which is something that is incredibly terrifying. You have to be okay with eating enough. Like the amount of fear that we have about food as patients with colitis, I think is something that's sometimes lost. And to transform from a patient, a disempowered person who has a diseased, broken, weak body, to a mother is such a big leap. And it's taken me a really, really, really long time to like heal my inner child, to heal from the trauma of going through all these things. And I just think there's so much pressure put on women, on all of us as humans in this world, to have the perfect relationship, to get married, to have a perfect career, to have children, to present our life in this like Instagram perfect way on social media. And again, when you have a chronic illness, that pressure it's like you're trying to achieve and reach these milestones and there's just all these roadblocks in your way. And I might never have a child, but I work as a healer every day. I help other people try to connect with their body and try to connect with themselves and feel connected, to others and to themselves and to the community, and try and bestow this message upon patients and young women and young boys that we can redefine what success looks like for ourselves. And I just think that doctors can be, and healthcare providers can be part of that, can be part of allowing people to feel a little bit more agency in their lives simply by asking people what they want and really understanding the multifaceted ways that this illness can impact people. It's not going to impact two people the same. I can only share my story. But the reason that I don't want to kill myself anymore is because I see that I'm not a failure. And I see that if I don't have children, I'm still not a failure, And I feel empowered. And I just think that women need to have the choice, right? The choice to choose what their life means to them. A life with illness might look different than a life without illness, but there are lessons that we learn and there are gifts that we're given and there are challenges that are put in front of every one of us, and we all face them and we can all empower each other and kind of partner together to help each other get through whatever obstacles are in our way. So thank you very much. Thank you.